Jefferies, everybody.
This is like inside the actor's studio.
It is, but for
less pretentious.
Yeah, a little
and
less
I can
pretentious.
say fuck.
No, you can't.
Oh, really?
It's a children's channel.
Oh, good.
So they're listening now. No, you can say whatever you want.
Oh, good.
Well, first of all, congratulations, because you just got picked up for another season.
We got picked up this morning at 10 o'clock, yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Now, when that happens, is it even better than getting the show?
Yeah, because getting the show, people are taking a punt on you. Like, it could be good, it could be shit. And second season is like, yeah, it was good. So it's a little bit more satisfying. And also, it was my first acting gig, and if we didn't get a second season, there's a good chance it could have been my only acting gig.
Sure.
Now, if we fail this year, then maybe I'll get another acting gig. But we're not going to fail. I've got some good ideas. No, I haven't.
You don't.
But we only just found out today. I'll come up with some stuff.
But see, here's the thing with your most people get ideas and they invent stuff, but most of the stuff in your show has happened to you.
Yes, a lot of embellishment, of course, and changing of names and whatnot. But
the Aussies do that, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. We treated the Aboriginals real good. There wasn't any problems there. I don't remember there was a lot of them, and then some of them moved away, I guess. I don't know what happened, but we can change history very easily, Australians.
But so this is as exciting, I think, for you. I mean, first of all, it's like a dream come true to get your own show, and then to know that you can keep on doing it.
Look, having a show based on my own life has its benefits, as in we know the stories that are going to work, but also for instance, it's very hard on people that are actually in my life. Like, my mum's a big, fat, morbidly obese woman, and she will be depicted as such in the next season. And so she's just sitting in fear. Just she knows what's coming.
She was one person hoping you didn't get picked up again.
Exactly. Well, she hasn't seen the first season yet, so I don't know, because there's Mindy Sterling's character is a hoarder in the show, and that's based on my mother.
Is that right?
My mother's a fully fledged, could be on the we didn't know about this condition until the TV show came out. And then when the TV show came out, you went, oh, that's what she is. Right. That's excellent.
So in other words, you didn't know mental illness until it was pointed out to you. You thought it seemed like a normal lifestyle until you found out.
I grew up, my room was filled with her shit, and I had a little bit of the end of the closet which I could hang like 3 shirts in one drawer as well. That was my entire living space that I was allowed.
And you didn't know that it was different because, you know.
Look, that was the least of my problems. Just all that. But now what she does is she has transferred her shopping and hoarding addiction to others. So she stopped buying for herself. But now what she thinks is, so my son, I'm going to bring the baby over to Australia in May, and the baby has more toys in her house than he has in his own house. Like, she's bought fucking jumping things, and the whole house is filled with baby shit. The baby's going to be there for 3 days, right? But she doesn't think that way. She thinks, oh, good, I've got a new hoard going on, and she says it's all free. But she had to drive around Sydney to get all this plastic shit. She spent like $150 in petrol to get all this free stuff. Petrol is gasoline. to you people, you might know that it's a different thing. Very confusing.
I like, when you lost them for a second, too. Everybody was just looking around.
They did. They couldn't figure out. They go, what are they powering their vehicles with? I assumed it was just solar power in Australia.
That's great, though. So you're going back. Is the show playing in Australia or just...
Not yet, but I got told last night that it probably will start playing now that we're getting a second season, that they will start selling it to other countries, because obviously other countries aren't interested in buying one season of a show, so they wait and see if it's got a bit of a track record or whatever. Well,
this is the thing about you. You've got the new show. It gets picked up. You're a new dad. And you seem to do this, and you don't look stressed about any of it.
It's a caftan can throw a person off. You wear a caftan with any level of confidence, and you don't look stressed. No, I don't. I'm not too stressed about it. The baby thing is... is for the most part fun. You know, but I'm not doing any of the hard stuff. You know, I'm not waking up in the middle of the night. But this is the thing is so. My girlfriend thinks that I don't do anything because I don't wake up in the middle of the night, but I've got just as much misery as her because I wake up next to her in the morning after she's woken up through the night, and she fucking hates me, right? And so to wake up to someone who hates you,
right,
is a horrible feeling.
You really are a great dad. You've got fatherhood down.
But this is the thing is the baby at the moment we judge him as a person on how well he sleeps. Like so, my baby now sleeps 8 hours a night, and we think he's a good person. We go, all right. He's a good baby. He might just be saying racist thoughts in his head all day. I don't know what his thought process is. Right. He might be a Nazi, my baby. Like, you know. But we know that he sleeps
the odds
good.
Are there, right? I mean, you gotta figure.
Well, we shouldn't have gotten him all those Hitler toys,
right?
You know, like it's all conditioning. I believe it's environment.
I love the fact of how you kind of flipped the script of where everybody thought you were going, because you had this thing of carefree guy running around the world doing what, and you know, and of course I don't mean any offense to this,
sure,
but we all kind of waited for you to die. You know what I mean? Like you seemed like you were going to be a guy who died, and then we would have time to look over your career and said he could have been great. One of those guys.
My whole life has been potential.
Yeah, right.
And there's going to become a stage when people are like, nah. He didn't have anything.
He didn't, yeah.
You know, I always sit on planes and I always think to myself, this would be the best way. Because if you die on a plane, not your fault. It's not a drug overdose or alcoholism, which is how I assume I was going to die. Right. But you die on a plane, it's like, that's a shame. Right? Yeah. But whenever I got on a plane, I always scoped out to see if there was anyone more famous than me on the plane. Because I thought, I don't want to be the big fucking bopper. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want to be Buddy Holly on the plane. Yeah. I don't want to be and the Big Bopper.
Yeah.
Right? And like one time I get in and I walk on, Bob Saget's sitting there, and I'm like, fuck, they're just going to talk about Saget.
That's almost like you died on the plane with the Big Bopper, though, if it was Saget. You know what I mean? Like, who knows if... I wonder if it was a Big Bopper was on a plane by himself that we'd even know him, you know?
Well, he sang Chantilly Lace was his big song, right?
Really, but... Is that...
He said, hello, baby.
Yeah, right. I think that maybe this is the best thing that ever happened to the Big Bopper.
I think the Big Bopper was going to die of cholesterol anyway. I don't think that... Like, back in those days, you know, he was smoking and drinking and just... That was an era where, basically, in the 50s, anyone could get famous if they had one song. Like, if you look at... What's his name? Who was the... Bill Haley. How the fuck did that cunt become a rock star?
Right.
He just had like the curl in his hair. Didn't they have any cool people back then?
No, well, that was almost pre-cool. You know what I mean? Like, it was like after Elvis and James Dean, they invented cool. But he really did look like somebody's teacher just showed up and sang.
Exactly,
yeah. But for you, this kind of gives you a different way to be judged when you're a dad, you know, because you could be a really success, and if you're a failure as a dad, they say, that guy was a failure.
You're a bad father.
Bad person.
I think that will probably happen. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not shying away from. You know, I left it in. I live with the consequences.
That's a wonderful pamphlet to hand out. Maybe the Catholics could be on that. I left it in. I live with the consequences.
The way I met my girlfriend, my lovely girlfriend, if she's listening, which I know she's not. She was the prostitute in the pilot of the TV show, so people don't know that. And it's not like she was my girlfriend and then I went, hey, do you want to be a hooker in a TV show?
Right.
We employed her as a hooker and then I got her pregnant after that.
Right, okay.
And it's just a wonderful story to tell my child. And the fact that he has the video footage of mummy as a hooker and daddy just saying awful things to her. Which is what we do around the house anyway.
Sure.
But it's nice. It's nice to have it on film.
Well, you can call it improv, I guess, if it's the house now.
Yeah.
So does she say to you, hey, do you think it's time to bring the hooker back to the show? Wouldn't that be a great idea?
She does appear in another episode coming up. I won't ruin the storyline, but she's in the finale, and she's got quite a big role in the finale.
I was actually even thinking about this show now because you've based so much of it on your own experiences.
Yeah.
Will you get to a point where you're the guy who left it in too long and now takes responsibility?
Yeah, okay. Well, sitting in the audience is Peter O'Fallon, who created and wrote the show with me, and we've sort of talked about this, me and Peter. But what do you reckon? We will, season 7, everyone loves Jim.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about going all the way into fatherhood.
Hold it.
Oh, sorry. I'm not funny and not very good at this. But anyway, yeah, we've talked a lot about it, where we're going to go with it. But I think that's probably season 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Before it becomes that,
Well, look, we want to see how this story plays out because I have a lot of time to get other actresses pregnant.
That is true.
You know what I mean? Like, it might be funny.
Every season, new baby.
Every season, in the pilot, I just knock someone up.
Right.
And I've got, like, all these kids that are all, different ages and colours.
But the show is about as far away from one of those husband shows that we think about with American TV.
Very fun.
It's not like we can imagine Jim doing a show with, he's trying to sneak a sandwich and he's getting in trouble from his wife, which is all those shows.
Replace the word sandwich with prostitute.
Okay.
And you're pretty close to the show. Trying to sneak a prostitute.
But that's, I'll leave this to you too, Peter. Everything about Jim that seems to be great, if you go over a degree or two, could become trouble, right? I mean, that's the thing about his personality. It's so great because there's an element of maintenance that he's done that maybe some other comedians haven't.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that was fascinating, like when I first, we were talking about doing the show, and I was looking at all these different comedians, and I kept watching one of Jim's DVDs, and finally I turned to my assistant and said, what do you think? It was, I'm really uncomfortable.
Yeah, right.
And then Peter took him off his lap and said, what do you think now?
Then I said, pull your pants up. No, but it's that danger thing that I think is, and hopefully we've done that in the show, that we get away with it. And the other thing too that I thought that I saw in Jim's show, and Lisa Bloom was our other exec producers in the booth right now. But one of the things that I saw in Jim is that there's a heart in his stuff that's, even though it's crude and really really difficult and sometimes really uncomfortable to listen to, there's a point to it. And that's the thing that that I really, responded to in the show and tried to bring out in the show, is to say, hey, this guy's just trying to be a decent human being. Kind of a fucked up way to do it, and the way he goes about it, and how he gets to it. But in the big picture, he's a good guy, trying to basically be a decent guy.
Does this feel like your parents were at your high school talking about you while you said that?
Like a little.
He could, if he could pull this back a little bit. But I think
needs to focus more.
Here's what I think is so great when I'm watching the show. This wouldn't have been a show 10 years ago. But it did seem like it was the kind of movie that we would have seen. It reminds me of a film more than a TV show.
Well, that's I give all the credit to Peter for that. That's really his design.
Well, it's actually nice of you to say that, because one of the things that what I wanted to do is to try to make little movies every week.
With disabled people.
Like,
we were doing it with porn anyway.
Yeah, right.
There's not a lot of Down syndrome porn out there, and I tried to start that up. And when that didn't kick off, I said, "How about we treat them nicely in a show?"
Right.
And that was a big move for us. Well, we actually got a phone call from Nick Daly, the guy who plays Rodney, today. He just found out there was another season, and he's very excited. And so it was weird that we started, because we had Billy, and Billy was in a wheelchair and had muscular dystrophy. He's based on an actual person from my life. But then you have him in a home, and then you have to populate the area. And so obviously we had other disabilities and stuff come in. And then there was a stage during filming where we sort of thought, I think this has snowballed too much. We've let this get away from us. There was like, we had like 15 disabled people wandering around, and
a woman with no legs,
and a woman with no legs. And then there was a bit where like there was a bar scene where I had to have 2 comedian friends, and I just got 2 of my mates to come and do the acting role. And then when I got there, one of my mates I didn't even think about is a dwarf, and I'm like, why did that wasn't a role that needed a dwarf. Why did I just book a dwarf for this? Now people are going to think that I have a hard-on for disabilities, you know. And so in tonight's episode, we had to have someone kitschy sing the national anthem at a baseball game, and we started with like Charo. We thought Charo would be good. Charo was busy, and then we had Florence Henderson from the Brady Bunch. We thought Florence Henderson was busy, and then in the end we got Vern Troyer, Mini-Me from, and we were like, oh great. And then as soon as he walked up, I went, it's another fucking dwarf. I don't know how this has happened.
We looked at him in the field with all of the baseball players. There's 10 baseball players and Vern about this big. And we turned to Jim. I said, we did it again.
Well, you know, Vern is like, even dwarfs go, that guy's really little. Dwarfs will be like, I'm uncomfortable around this guy.
My baby is 4 months old, and if you stand him up, he's taller than Vern Troyer.
It's unbelievable.
4 months old.
Here's what's funny about your show is, and I read this in a big article in the Hollywood Reporter, people are praising you because of all this, and it could have exploded, I guess.
We were very nervous through the whole thing, and I think the network at times was nervous with it as well, especially with the character of Rodney, and we were just sort of, I don't know if people are going to like this, and we thought we'd get a little bit of flack, but we got none. People dig it, man. The muscular dystrophy people are really happy with it. We had one guy who, this was really sad. He'd sort of been texting before the show, going he doesn't know about this show, or whatever. And then he watched the show and he tweeted that he really loved it. And he said, legit was a great show. And then he died 10 minutes later. Right, so I'm not saying that. At least he was happy from watching it, right? But he died, and it was one of the big tragedies was that we needed the viewers as well. You know, our ratings were down, so that was one person we lost right there. But it was really sad, you know.
Well, what's funny is that if you're getting great demos there, I'm sure FX is going to want you to do more.
Well, the great thing about muscular dystrophy people watching the show is the show that goes on afterwards, they don't change the channel, the muscular dystrophy. Right. If you just leave them, you know. The FX are getting ratings for the whole night. As soon as they tune in, they're sitting through Russell Brand's show like.
But
it's very easy to do.
Yeah. Now, but you said you were a little bit nervous that this could go sideways.
I was also nervous about the actual bloke who it's based on as well, what he would think.
Right.
Because he's been a friend of mine for many years, and I didn't want to have him disappointed in the portrayal, because obviously it was a far more comical portrayal of what actually happened and all that type of stuff. And his brother said that they're all watching it in Australia. In the home, they're all sitting there watching it. They're illegally downloading it, little bastards.
Right, sure.
You know, it's karma. That's probably why they're disabled. It's all the illegal.
That'll do it to you.
It's all the illegal downloading.
So there's, like with you, there's some goodwill, and then there's the next joke.
Exactly.
And goes back and forth.
Also, my father died of ALS about a year before this all happened, and then one of the reasons that I was attracted to Jim's story about that is my father was extremely funny no matter how bad it got.
Right.
And so as we came through, and I took care of him for a couple of years. It was a bit difficult, but it was also, so it ended up being, in an odd way, it peels the layers away to the humor of it, because there's nothing left but fun.
It's a human story, and the thing is, I think that was so great about the story when Jim's, it's such a guy story from the beginning.
Well, the thing is, when you watch the first episode, Billy's character is almost dying, and by episode 13, we don't put his oxygen on a lot anymore.
Right.
And if we get like 5 seasons, he fucking tap dancing. He seems to be regenerating.
But if you go by the show, you can almost start and believe that maybe blowjobs are getting him stronger and stronger.
I believe so. You lighten up your balls, you probably can walk with a bit of a spring in your step.
And we had an episode last week, which was, we called Cuckoo's Nest, which was them going back to the to the home where Billy was, and there was all these different people. But one of the idea was that Jim has this little speech at the end: is that you got to stop treating them like kids.
Right.
And one of the things that I think is good about the show, why I think that the disabled community has embraced us, is the idea that with this show, Jim's character especially doesn't. Well, like there's this great episode we have where this girl she shows him his ring, and Jim says, "I don't pay attention." And Jim kind of doesn't pay attention to whatever disability someone has. If they're good people, he doesn't care. And so far we're running with that.
Well, I think it's also a tough thing to do is to figure out. When you talk about your character, you're basically saying this is who I am. Yeah. So you have to figure out yourself in a way that most people don't have to.
I always thought the TV Jim wasn't a bad guy. And then some people would write reviews that were like, obviously he's playing an exaggerated version of himself. That's a bit of an asshole. And I was like, I thought I was playing myself nicer.
Right.
And so it really came home that I'm a complete asshole, and he's a bit of an asshole.
Well, I always think that it's interesting when someone will use like the term crude or obnoxious or whatever, because I don't know if anyone ever sets out to be crude,
I think that all comedians, if they're very honest with themselves, probably think they're the best comic in the world. Mm-hmm. And my reasoning behind that is because they're writing the jokes they want to hear. There's very few comics who make that step where I'm going to be clean, because if I'm clean and do this, then that's the formula to get onto TV. And then most comics are writing or trying to perform the stuff that they like.
Right.
And so, you meet goofy guys, they're goofy guys in real life. And clean guys are normally pretty clean living blokes as well. And the dirty guys are dirty guys, That's just how it is. So I always like storytelling blokes, like guys who told long-winded stories. And there's not a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
Billy Connolly does it very well.
Yeah.
I always liked the fact that he would tell a story and then go on a tangent for 20 minutes, and then he'd come back to the story like he'd just gone, oh, yeah, we've got to do that. And for years, I thought that was actually what he was doing. But I do that as well, and it's a complete lie. I know exactly where I am. I know exactly where I've gone off on my tangent, and I know exactly when I'm going to come back to it. But I go, oh yeah, anyway. So, and that's a way. Sometimes if a story's very weak at the end, it's a way of just softening up the boring bit.
And also keeping everybody involved with it. You
go. So anyway, we took the drugs and the guy died. and so you can have that little bit that dribbles off at the end.
But for that to work, it has to work as a story, whether it's funny or not.
The problem with telling long stories on stage for me is, and I think it's almost a lost art form with American comics. And my reason for this is, especially in LA, everyone's trying to nail their 5 minutes.
Right.
And so everyone thinks the road to success is getting onto Letterman or whatever and getting that 5 minutes really snappy. I'm a terrible comedian over 5 minutes. I'm not good to watch. I'm a good comic over a long amount of time. You got to get to know me, and I got to tell the things. And I just think that growing up in Australia and doing comedy, and then going to England and doing comedy, where there was a stage in England when there was more comedy clubs than there was comedians. So I had to get up and do 20 minutes. I only had 10 minutes. So I learnt the art of stretching and stretching and stretching and making everything longer than it needed to be and all that type of stuff, where it feels like it's the opposite in America. Everyone's trying to make it tighter and smaller and smaller and smaller and more succinct. And I don't know how I got onto this. But the thing about...
And anyway, the guy died and...
the problem is, if you have a story and say it's 20 minutes long, and you want to try it out, and turns out the story sucks, which often happens, and you're 8 minutes in, it's a lonely place, and you're already going, I've already said the best bit of this story, and you didn't like that, and so now it gets worse and more horrible, or Anyway.
But a lot of times I think they assume with you, oh, this is a funny story that he's telling us. He'll get back to his act soon. You know what I mean? Like, there's always the thing for you where you're like, oh, I guess he's gone off from his act.
There was a few stories that there's a story I tried to tell I've tried to tell like 7 times on stage, and no one's ever laughed at it. About my mother getting stuck in a boat. Right. And I think what happens is halfway through the story, everyone feels sorry for my mother and just thinks I'm an asshole. And I'm telling it from the I'm a hero point of view. And I'll tell you the story very quickly, a very succinct version.
Good. If it doesn't work, let's do it here.
But I feel it will work. It will work now because I've explained the problem with it. I'm going to give it one more go. Right. So my mother. There's a guy next door to us is a boat maker, right? And I brought my girlfriend from England out to Australia. This is many years ago, and the guy's like, "Hey, would you like to go on a trip around Sydney Harbour?" And for a foreigner, that's like a great little day out. And then my mum, who the next door neighbour hates my mother, she pokes her head over the fence and goes, "I'd like to be involved with that." Right? So we get down to the boat. Now it's an old shrimping boat. Now you got to. My mother is a big woman. She's twice your size. She's a big fucking lady, right? And so there's no little door to get on the boat. She has to step over this barrier, and we're like, so this is the bit where people are like, "Oh, your poor mother." But if you've been beaten by her, this is a really funny story, right? So so we get her on the boat, and then we're going around the harbour, and my girlfriend's there, my dad's there, he's getting leathered with the next door neighbour Steve, they're both getting drunk, and then I walk past the little hole bit, the bit where you live, and I hear a whimpering noise, and I look down, and there's a big fat woman crying, just and I said, "What's up with you, Mum?" And she goes, "I'm stuck in here, I can't get out," right? Because it's only a little doorway, little 2-foot wide doorway, and a ladder to get down, but she needed to have a piss, and so she went down there, but once she got in there, she panicked and didn't even have a piss, right? And so she's sitting there, and I said, "Well, you're going to have to get out because you can't live your whole life in a boat, right? There's no option. You're going to have to get out of there, or we're not cutting the boat in half, so you're going to have to figure out a way to get out, right?" She goes, I can't. So I went and sat down with her. I calmed her down. I find this story funnier than everyone else. So I stood behind her, and I got her to hold the 2 rungs of the ladder, and I got underneath her, and I put one leg up on the run, and so it was wobbling like this, and then I got the other leg, and I got all my weight, and I pushed it up, so she's standing on the thing like that, and she's screaming, and I said, "Look, I'm winded at the moment, right? You're just gonna have to settle down, right?" And so my girlfriend walks by, and all about 120 pounds of her, she walks by and she goes, "What's going on, Carolyn?" Here's my mum, and she goes, "I'm stuck in a boat." So my girlfriend starts screaming. So I got these 2 women screaming at me, and I said, "Calm the fuck down. I'm going to get this woman out of the boat," right? And then I said to my girlfriend Terry, I said, "Terry, go get Dad," right? So she runs off to the other end of the boat, and then she comes back, and her exact words were, "Your dad doesn't give a fuck." Because he's been stuck in so many of these boat situations that this was every day. I've been living in the UK for years. I forgot about the boat worlds, right? So I get her up on the run, and I get to the end, and I said, "I know you got a bad back, but this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you." And I stood at the end of this boat, and I ran in and shoulder barged her, right? And she pops up into the hole. Now I'm in complete darkness, right? And all I can see is these shadowy legs, just like this, and I can hear the muffled sound of my girlfriend and my mother screaming, right? And I'm sitting there just almost in tears, like, "Oh my God, this is so horrible." And so I took another run up, and I bashed into her again, and she inched out a little bit. It was like the opposite of being born, and so I'm just bashing into this woman. She's screaming. Now, when I tell this, I tried telling it live, people don't find this to be humorous.
Right.
They think that that's mean to bash your mother through a hole. Anyway, so then Steve walks by, and Steve, the next door neighbour, and he's all drunk, and all I hear, and this made me laugh, he was laughing and pointing, and he said it's like Winnie the Pooh when he gets stuck in the tree and Piglet tries to get him out with a stick. Then I one final push, and I bash her, and she just slides through, and then Steve pulls her out by her arms. And she's laying there with a big moo-moo skirt over her head, and she's crying. And I found out something about my mother that day. She's like a turtle. She can't roll herself over if she's on the ground. There's no. She can do it a little bit with the bed because there's buoyancy, and she can get momentum up. So I get an oar. I think this is where the story gets sad, really. I get an oar, and I flip this crying obese woman over like a spatula on an egg. And see, this is the bit where I'd have to go off on a tangent on stage and then come back and go, and anyway, she slipped a disc. Right? Because there's no funny punchline at the end of it. It's just a humorous thing to have a big fat ass blocking the sun.
I think now we understand why your mom didn't want this season to get picked up, because this is all she's probably thought about since you said I've gotten a show.
I just... You know, if the woman from Gilbert Grape is still alive, she's got the part. But I assume she's dead.
Yeah.
I don't know does anyone know if that woman's still alive? She'd have to be dead.
Yeah.
She would have drowned under a roll of skin one day and just...
I'm not even sure she made it through the movie.
Yeah.
There's an abrupt end to that storyline.
I know that the woman from Throw Mama from the Train's dead. She was in Goonies as well. So there's just not any quality morbidly obese actors out there anymore. Right. There's a market for that.
There is. So this is one of the things when you're doing things from your life, whether you're doing it as stand-up or doing it in your TV show, do you ever measure, hey, this is going to piss off a friend or a family member?
If people are ever irritated about the way you talk to them, they should have acted like a dickhead to begin with.
Right.
I don't think... see, it's funny. My brother, for many years, he hated it. Mm-hmm. My dad loves it. He loves if he's in the audience, he'll stand up and wave at everybody, like, and I'll be basically calling him a moron.
Right.
And he thinks it's wonderful. But my mother hates it. My brother hated it for years, and now he's sort of embraced it. He's just gone, fuck it, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You know, and I think he embraced it because he came to a show, and I referenced one of my brothers so much in my stand-up that the audience actually had a real fondness for him. I do portray him as a dick, but he says a lot of funny things in my stand-up, and so he actually was getting drinks bought for him, and he sort of thought that the audience liked him, and he was worried they were all going to call him an idiot, but they all liked him, so he's sort of gotten into it. My mother, on the other hand, can't come to shows because everyone starts calling her Gunter, and she's walking around with an oxygen tank and a cane, and she gets a little bit hoity-toity at the show. She gets a little bit like, I'm the mother of the main actor, you know what I mean? Like, she starts wanting special attention, like, and it's like, it's not really like that,
right?
You know,
it's not the Royal Theatre, it's stand-up.
Exactly, exactly. And she'll push through lines, there'll be a queue of people, and she'll be like, I'm the mother, I will come just to... And you're like, fuck, oh, God. And then she sits there not laughing, and as soon as people know that's your mother, they always check to see if... Yeah, it's horrible. I break out and sweat if she's in the audience.
But you're pretty okay if there's a bad review about you or someone doesn't get your act. I've seen you roll with different things.
I'm pretty good with it. I try not to look on the internet anymore because will only bring you down.
Sure.
You know, because I don't know about you, but I don't read the good, I only read the bad, and that's just how I'm programmed. I don't mind a bad review from a journalist. I sometimes find if it's I hate a 3-star review. Mm-hmm. I love a 1. I like 5s and I like 1s, and 3s bug the shit out of me because 3's average. I like the person who fucking despises me.
Yeah,
that's a great review. Even with the TV show, we had some people that were just so angry, and we only had like 2 bad reviews, but they were really like quite vicious. And you think, really, I've never hated anything this much.
Yeah,
how have you put so much time into hating?
So you can handle somebody who despises you.
Yeah, I think I'm not doing a good job if everyone likes me. I'm not. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing what I'm meant to be doing.
Right.
You know,
and that comes from stand-up. You think?
I think so. I think you can't be liked by everybody. You just can't.
Yeah. Particularly, I guess, when you're starting out, you're going out there, they haven't seen you, or
life as a stand-up gets easier the more famous you get, because the more famous you get, the more people come to see just you. Mm-hmm. But the hardest years of stand-up were me trying to tell dirty stories and long-winded stories when I was like someone's support act.
Right.
That was, because if you're not really into what I do on stage, you're gonna fucking hate it. I'm not a good comic to see on a whim. You know, I'm not. Well, let's just go down to the club. Let's see what's on. I always find it weird when like girlfriends will bring like their parents to a gig, and you're like, this isn't gonna work out for anybody. My girlfriend, the mother of my child, she's the youngest of 7 kids, and her mother is so religious that when she came to visit the baby, when the baby was born, she brought holy water, right? And I'm a well-known atheist. I talk about being an atheist all the time. And I come into the room, and she's sprinkling holy water on the baby, and everyone freaked the fuck out, right? When I walked in, like, oh, no, Jim just saw us. And I said, I don't give a fuck. I said, put your fucking mumbo-jumbo voodoo shit. That doesn't bother me because I'm an atheist. If I was a Muslim or something and it was going against my religion, right, then we have a problem. But I'm like, fucking baptize the little cunt. I don't care. Who gives a shit? It's not going to hurt me.
Yeah. But this is going to be, I guess with them being that religious.
My girlfriend's not religious, but she's got 6 siblings who are very religious. They're from the Mel Gibson religion, where they believe in a pope from 400 years ago.
Yeah.
She thinks that the modern day popes are too progressive, and really, they go to church like every day, and they pray in the car before they drive for like a safe journey or something.
Yeah. So you are not the idea she had.
One of her sisters said that I've gotten rich from the devil. And I was like, that's how I did it.
Right.
Yeah, the devil's giving me cash.
But see, the thing is, if that were true, you'd probably be making a lot more money.
Yeah,
because
it's that whole thing that they always pray to God when a disaster happens, and they blame the devil for all the bad stuff. It's very weird. They never blame God for anything. God does good, devil does bad.
And you think maybe sometimes the devil could do a couple good things.
I just think that obviously God's often not paying attention. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like the devil, because he's meant to be powerful. He can stop the devil from putting a wave into Tokyo.
Yeah.
I always think about that, like with all that radioactivity and stuff in Tokyo and the big wave, we've got a Godzilla coming our way.
Sure.
Right? We have, because that's how it happened, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think, like, who was dumped in the water around the same time? It was Bin Laden, right? And you didn't like Bin Laden the first time. You wait for Godzilla Bin Laden. He's gonna fuck some shit up, Godzilla Bin Laden.
These thoughts are why your in-laws think you're the devil. Probably just that alone. Now, would you ever think about putting characters based on them in your show, or does that cross the line?
I think sometimes, especially with people who are fairly far removed from your immediate family, because they're not my immediate family, mm-hmm. I think often people don't recognize themselves.
Ah, really?
I don't think they do. My mother has some traits, and she doesn't recognise herself in some of the characters. And there's direct dialogue in the show from directly from what she has seen, and she doesn't fucking notice.
Right.
And even like the John Ratzenberg character, he's vaguely, a lot of his dialogue's based on my father as well, you know, and obviously based a little bit on Peter's dad and a lot of different things, but there's direct dialogue there as well. Ratzenberg's an interesting guy to hang out with. He's basically Cliff.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's Cliff Clavin. That wasn't a fucking act, man.
Yeah.
I was in Boston the other day and I went to the Cheers bar and they were out of. Okay, I lied to him. Right, they have Norm bobbleheads, right? And I wanted to buy a Cliff bobblehead to bring to him like that, right? They go, we don't have them yet, but they're coming in. And we've never had them before. People want the two sitting next to each other, and so I ring John up and I go, "Hey, John, they're sold out of the Cliff bobbleheads, but they have a shitload of Norms left, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, they sell 2 to 1." And the thing is, you'll just be sitting next to him, and sometimes, like, he's a real Republican type of guy. Which I always say this, I can't vote, right? So I'm neither a Republican or a Democrat. I have my opinions and something, and they sway both ways, right? But he's very Republican, right? So we do a lot of ad-libbing on the show. I got to say this because a lot of people. He did an ad lib on the show where he goes, "Hey, I heard that Jesus had a dog called Tippy. Hey, he walked out in the ocean, and he drowned." Right? I found out since that he ripped that off George Carlin. So
is that right?
Yeah. So
we didn't know.
We didn't put it in the script. It was an ad lib. We're not ripping George Carlin off. I give him full credit for that joke. I'm sorry, right? But anyway, so we're doing this thing where we're at a party and there's a lot of prostitutes at this party. It's in the last episode, and you'll see this bit's edited out, right? But we're all standing there, and Peter said to us, "Everyone just give a speech, and we're going to do a montage. We're going to edit all these speeches in, and that's how it's going to work out." So I do a crappy little speech, and Dan Bacadol does a speech, and then Ratzenberg gets up and he goes, "Hey, yeah, there's a lot of prostitutes here. There's nothing wrong with prostitutes, you know. Starting with Mary Magdalene and ending with that pantsuit-wearing whore Hillary Clinton, who's a lesbian. And she knows she's a lesbian. And we're all like, you can see everyone on the set going, does John know he's crossed over? Like, this isn't his thing." And DJ yelled out in character. He went, "Dad!" and then John just looked at him like, "Don't you stop my flow." But I think we edited that out, didn't we? But John wanted it in, so I'm not being mean mentioning it because he's well aware he said it.
And we didn't edit it out because we're liberal. We just didn't edit it out because it didn't work.
Yeah.
Also, it might have been. Might have had a defamation. I think it wasn't like maybe she's a she's a whore and a lesbian. It was stipulated. There was no ifs or buts.
Right. Well, you got to let him roll though. You got to let him roll and own it himself.
He's funny man, and it's good to be around a guy that was in Star Wars. That just doesn't happen, you know what I mean? And he'll tell you stories about everything. He was in fucking Gandhi. He was in 2 of the Superman movies. He's just had an interesting career.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, Laurence Olivier. Yeah, I met him. He gave me the best bit of advice ever on acting. Never leave your wallet in the trailer. People just people." Right. But he's not saying it like a joke. He's like going, "Yeah, always take it with you. People steal stuff. Yeah."
Are you after this season? You start to think of yourself more as an actor, or
the other day, someone asked me what I did for a living, and I said actor. And as soon as I said it, I got cunt chills down my spine.
We've all had those.
I was really just so ashamed of myself, like working so long to become a good comedian and then just waltzing in and going, well, I'm an actor now, and just throwing away my stand-up career like it was nothing, and just going, yeah, I'm an actor, and I just felt like a prick instantaneously. But I think I'm getting better. But I was saying to Peter just then, I've got the privilege of FX are paying for acting classes for me, like not act literally, but I can't really act, and they're just giving me 13 more episodes. By the end, I'll probably be able to do it.
Be able to pull it off.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll get better and better. Like Seinfeld, the first season, he was woeful, and he got pretty good.
Oh, look at all the work he's getting as an actor now. It's just it's amazing. We might have to do a thing of comedians that could only play themselves, and an all-star series of people.
Well, I know I'm not famous because the other day I was we show up at the upfronts, and there was people at the airport, and there was people at the front of the hotel, and they had printed out all the photos they want you to sign, and they get like big piles of them because I guess they sell them on eBay or whatever, $10 a pop or whatever. And so I'm signing all of them, and there was a picture of me, DJ, and Dan, and I signed my bit, and then the guy said to me, can you write down your character's name so that he could sell it? Right? So he obviously didn't know who I was. All right.
There it is.
Yeah, and then there was this other guy
in the wheelchair.
Yeah, I'm the guy in the wheelchair. His old DJ calls it. Not a lot of effort goes into making him look disabled. We don't. I tell you, you have like a latter stage AIDS look to you. You'll get work.
Yeah, there'll be a place.
It's him and Mackenzie Crook, who's the British guy off The Office. So they're only two guys with those bodies that I've met.
You know, when you look over your career and the way you left Australia, went to England, over here to America, it seems like when you hit a certain point, you leave. If I'm Peter, I'm like, is he showing up for season 3? If this thing gets successful, what do you think?
I've still got to crack Poland.
Right.
And there's a lot of
there's a lot of places out there.
I'm entrenched here. I got a Canadian girlfriend and an American kid, and I'm Australian, obviously, and so I'm thinking I'll stay here forever. I'm sick of moving around the place. I'll stay in America forever.
It's kind of bizarre that your first steady work and a family starts the exact same place.
Yeah, it's like, and there's obviously a bit of me that I'm more famous now than I used to be, and I could fuck a lot more women, and that haunts me every day. And
by the way, this is an atheist prayer that he's doing right now.
But there's another bit. I know how destructive I am, and I could fuck this whole thing up. The TV show I'm talking about, if not for my girlfriend keeping me on the steady track. So I gotta take my atheist blessings.
And to some extent, this is where the show came from, is the conversations Jim and I had after we watched all his specials and watched the stand-up and all that, and like everyone, even someone my age, you're trying to figure out how to make it, be a decent human being.
Sure.
And ultimately, he realizes that, as we all realize it, as you said earlier, that it was, the road to destruction was right ahead.
It was right there. And I think that is also the part of wisdom of here is destruction.
I have a tendency to try to fuck things up, but it turns out that people give me a lot of chances, which is sweet.
Yeah,
because there's been people who who are less talented comedians than me who have been thrown on the scrap heap a little bit through being drunks or whatever, and not. But especially in the UK, I used to show up so wasted to clubs, and there was an element of Jim,
right.
That's not a good world to be in, because that's enabling. And then you get those club owners that are also drunks as well, and they're like I've been waiting to get fucked up with you for all year. These other comics don't get fucked up with me. And then you're like, oh, cool, well, this is helping the show. Because the club owner thinks it's a good idea. So he obviously knows what funny is.
So you always, you kind of hope you know where that spot is. And you're aware of it, and yet you haven't totally.
I gave up drinking for 8 months, and I took it up a little bit, and then now I get drunk very rarely. I got wasted last night.
Okay,
and
all right, that's a start.
No,
okay, never mind.
with the executives from FX, and I asked to touch one of their cocks, but it was all in good fun because I know that he gets really uncomfortable when you say that to him. So I thought that was a funny thing to do.
I wonder why that is. I wonder what it is about
that. Now my manager's shaking her head in the fishbowl over there because she knows that happened and she's worried now that might have. But Peter was there to tell me to stop, and that was. But I was celebrating because we got a second season, so I had to do that.
Sure,
that wasn't really an option. Now I would like to get to a stage in life where I didn't get fucked up about once a month. Right, but the problem is I really enjoy getting fucked up, and people don't often say. They just go, "Oh, I'm out of control." I love being out of control. It's fucking heaven,
right?
And I've tried going to stop and all that sort of stuff, but I always find it weird when there's like these 12-step programs. The only one that I go to, I go to Sex Addicts Anonymous because I try to keep that in check, especially now with a kid and everything. I'm not going to cheat on my girlfriend, shouldn't be masturbating as much to porn as I just try to keep myself in check. And that one I actually do, but when it comes to alcohol and you get to like step 7 and it's like making amends, I'm the best apologizer in the world. Apologizer, right? I don't have to make amends to fucking anyone. I do it that next morning, right?
You wanted to this morning.
Yeah, I do step 7 on a weekly basis. I miss all the other ones, but I'm always right on that one. Just geez, I'm sorry. And, but when it comes, I'll tell you my Sex Addicts Anonymous one. So I went to a couple of these meetings, and then the problem with Sex Addicts Anonymous is I'm like, I have a penchant for prostitutes, right? You say that, and then you'll have like a guy next to you will be like, I want to fuck my kid, and you'll be like, whoa, I just shook your hand. Oh, you're a horrible person. I'm an idiot. You're a criminal. And so this is what happens, right? So I go along to this one about a month ago, and I go in there and there's like 5 really fat guys, and I'm thinking, oh, here we are, and I'm thinking, how do these cunts get laid? Like, what is the thing? And I stand up, and the first guy goes, look, I can't help myself. I do it when my wife goes to sleep. I duck downstairs and do it. I do it at parties. I find a spare room and I'm sitting there going, yeah, I hear you, man. I hear that, right? And then I stand up and I go, for me, it's prostitutes, right? And that's when I found out I was in Overeaters Anonymous. I wasn't even in like Sex Addicts Anonymous. Everyone looked at me and I went, and what is this meeting? What is this?
What is this?
And they went, this is Overeaters Anonymous. I went, that is one of my problems.
It is.
But that's not my main problem. So good luck to you all. There's meetings for fucking everything. I went to another one which was sex addicts and love addicts. People who are addicted to being in love. And is that a problem? That doesn't really hurt people, does it? Fucking enjoy it. Being in love's awesome. Well, it's a lot of fun, but it's like, yeah, I can't be by myself. I can't be single. I really need someone in my life. I'm really codependent on having another person to be in love with. Yeah, we all fucking are. We get lonely. Just cheer up, will you?
So you couldn't actually run a meeting, I don't think, with that attitude. Would probably you're better off sitting in the other spot.
At the end, I'm not awesome. I'm not awesome with the prayer because I'm not religious. So I'm just lying in that bit, right? And I'm just going with God's help, and I'm like, and then like everyone joins arms in like a huddle, and then like last time I was next to this gay guy who just keeps on having sex with people in the bathroom of his gym, right? That's like his fucking bag. He's like, I keep on fucking heterosexual married guys in the gym, right? And I'm like, well, you can slip up. And, right? And then like so then we all get in our thing, and he's grabbing me a little bit more around the waist like this. I'm going, this isn't a good ending for him. He can't be around male flesh. He loves the heterosexual flesh, is the one that he's...
Yeah. And then...
So I fucked him.
Yeah, right. Because it would have been oddly sad if you hadn't. You know, at least didn't turn it down. You're like, really? This is a safe place for you?
Yeah, I would like the co-ed meetings where there'll be like one woman who... Right. And it's always like 19 guys who are always like, oh, just fucking trying to masturbate in my car on the way to work, and I can't help myself, and I want to stop because I love my family and my thing. And then there'll be like one girl stand up and go, well, I used to be in porn, and I used to get fucked by like 5 guys, and we're all sitting there going,
yeah, right.
like salivating dogs, like we're going, we can all do a bukkake here, and everyone would be happy. It's like when you go to AA and you think we should all get wasted together,
right?
Because we'd be the best group of people to get fucking drunk with ever.
You're just one keg away from where you used to be anyway, with the same people. You know, roll a keg and it'd be a great party.
It's the thing is, with my life is I'm no good at going to something anonymous because I tell everyone all the time. I'm
much anonymous.
Yeah, I need to go to like sex addicts obvious. where it's just like really obvious.
Yeah. But I do think it's great that you still find the time in between all the joking. You really are working on all these things. You get it.
I'm trying. I do try, and I get disappointed with myself. I'm not. There comes a stage, especially with alcohol, there comes a tipping point for everybody. Well, for me anyway, where I used to love the fact that I was outrageous. I used to wake up and go, I got my cock out in that bar. I'm awesome. And now I wake up and go, oh, I got my cock out in that bar. And that's a completely different emotion. And when the mornings change to that,
right,
that's when it's time to make a change.
Sure.
Because and also with fame and any level of reputation for being a drinker, people really fuel you on to get wasted. They want to get wasted with you. Now, what they're missing out is that you're going to another town the next day, and for them, this is their big night that they're seeing you. But you're going to the next town, so you're having big nights every single night. They're probably getting over that night for fucking 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you know, no one's going to look out for you but you, really.
And, you know, I mean, you did have, what, a 20-year run of acting like this? So
I had liver damage. Mm-hmm. I had an enlarged liver, which you think would help. You think you think that an enlarged liver would be able to handle more pressure?
Doesn't work that way.
It's very strange, isn't it? It's weird when they say that your organs are packing in a little bit. Because I never felt sick from it or anything like that.
Yeah.
The shaking hands when I was drinking at my heaviest was that, to me. I used to almost enjoy that aspect of it because I felt like Keith Richards. I felt like a rock star because look at me, my hands are shaking. I can hardly hold a pen. And I used to find it funny that I couldn't eat soup because my hands would shake so much I couldn't get soup to my mouth, right? But then afterwards, I didn't know everyone thought I was going to die until people now bring it up all the time, going, "We thought you were going to die."
Right.
And I was in sometimes I do a death pool. You ever do those things where you gamble on who's going to die this year, right? And then I had some of my friends in the death pool, and I was in their picks.
All right, that's bad.
And sure, they were friends of mine, and I think you're a fucking friend of mine. Why aren't you trying to help me? You're just trying to get $20 off of me. So I thought, you get different points for suicide, and you get different points for. I thought if I could make the rules, like if you commit suicide in this dramatic fashion with some porn star with a thing, you get this many points, and then I can engineer it. And I could win the whole thing if I killed myself in that situation. But
that's cheating, really. Yeah. If you think about it, it's really not right.
But they say you can't take it with you. Yeah. And I never thought about that I was going to die. I never thought that.
Well, you didn't give a fuck that your hand was shaking. I mean, you weren't really in the best thought there.
All my heroes, still to this day, were fucking addicts, all of them. Like John Lennon and George Carlin and Richard Pryor, they all fucking had their moments with.
But all ended up in meetings and coming back, because that's I think the real wisdom is when you went, okay, come out there and I'm back.
Lennon, he ended a different way, but that's neither here nor. Actually, I went to where he got shot and had a look at it. And I sat on the step where Mark Chapman waited for like 12 hours for him to go away. And he sat there and he sat on this step, and then he shot John Lennon, and then he sat back on that step and he waited for the cops to get him, and he just sat there calmly. And I went to sit on that step, and a security guy goes, "Get up." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "You can't sit there." And I said, "I just want a photo of me sitting in the step." He goes, "You can't sit there. Get up." And I said, "Where were you in 1980? He didn't really.
No, you didn't get the irony of that entire thing.
Yeah, I remember. If you ever had like a joke go so bad where you've wanted to explain it to a person why it's. I was in Edinburgh and I sneaked in to. They had a Star Wars exhibit in the museum. We just looked at. Somehow I got in. You were meant to start on the top floor and then work your way down and then out. And somehow I walked in this bridge or something. I ended up on floor 3. I never paid to get in. I got through like a service door or something. By the time I figured out I was meant to pay to go in, and everyone else had a sticker on them, I was a Darth Vader suit. I was pretty much well done. And I was walking around, and then this guy comes up to me. He's working in the fucking Star Wars exhibit. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Where's your sticker?" And I went, "You don't need to see my sticker." Right? And he asked again, "Where's your sticker?" And I said, "This isn't the sticker you're looking for." Right? And then he didn't laugh or anything, and he's kicking me out. So I'm in like a service lift with him being thrown out, and I'm going, Obi-Wan Kenobi, these aren't the droids you're looking for. And he said, "I've never seen Star Wars." I'm like, well, if you've seen it, I just made an awesome joke. and it deserved way more than you gave it. I bet this lift can do the castle run in 8 parsecs. Still nothing? No, all right.
Still,
you haven't seen it. Yeah. You haven't seen it.
So, how you spending your summer now that you're off?
I'll be writing a new TV show. That's going to take up the majority of the time, and I'm going to Australia for a few gigs in May, and that'll be interesting because for the first time in my life I'm selling well in Australia, which never happened to me before. It was like the last place to get on board, and I have to spend 6 days at my mother's house with the Horde. I got to, I'm playing the biggest theatre in Sydney, and then at night I'll be sleeping in my old bunk bed with my girlfriend, and just shit piled around me. So that's good. And I, just run. So I'm going out and doing one-nighters. You know, I just did a little tour. I just did the Best Buy here in New York, and that was really good, and Boston and all that type of stuff. But I'm doing a lot of Indian casinos now. Mm-hmm. They seem to book me a lot. Right. I'm very popular with the Indians, yeah. Yeah, I saw one bloke who was like a proper Indian looking guy, like he had the little topazzy type necklace and the things hanging off his sleeves, and I just assumed he owned the casino. And I went up and I said, "This is a really nice casino you got here, mate." And it was just like, he looked at me like it was the most racist thing that anyone's ever said. And I look back and I'm like, that is kind of racist. Just assuming because he's an Indian in an Indian casino, he must own the casino.
Very few. You see very few Indians in Indian casinos.
I always, I'm very interested in the Indians. I always think that I get told, especially for things like I'm anti-gun, and I get a lot of people that will tweet it like, "Go home if you don't like it." And I think, fuck you, man. It's a country of immigrants. I got as much right to be here as anyone. I've come here legally. I find it weird that, okay, so we're both friends with Anthony from Opie and Anthony. Anthony loves guns.
Yes, he does.
Fucking loves them, right? Now, I don't love them, but I know not to have that discussion with Anthony, because with other people who are friends of mine, I understand that we don't all agree on everything all the time. But what I find funny is when I go send some anti-gun tweet, they fucking telling me to Anthony.
They'll do that.
Audience members start like, "Anthony, did you see what Jim said about guns?" And you're like, fucking telling on teacher, fucking pussy. Right? Just give me your opinion. Don't dob me into Anthony.
But he's ready to jump up like a fireman and hit to his Twitter and defend guns too. And he's on a 24-hour thing. Yesterday I'm watching MSNBC and one of his tweets just goes by. I'm like, how weird has the world gotten?
Oh, well, he's the tweet that's on today.
Yeah,
the one about the Trayvon Martin and the picture. The tweet was sent to Anthony.
You're right,
about the kid looking more gangster. Yeah, and so Anthony now is in this fucking system. He didn't even make the racist tweet. Someone sent him a racist tweet, and now his name's on the news next to the racist tweet.
Yeah, but. And because I love the guy, I do worry that occasionally he's on a list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That Obama looks like. Let's go over this list, sir. Here's the guys to watch out for: Comey, Anthony. You know.
I'm amazed at Jim, all the things that Jim says, the outrageous things he says. That it's the gun thing that he gets the most response from.
My
religion
theory
is another too.
If you want to have your fucking guns, stop telling us you got guns. You know what I mean? Then you'll get to keep them. Every fucking white redneck is going, "Don't take my guns, don't take my guns, don't take my guns." I'm yet to see one black person say that. I'm yet to see one black person go, "Don't take my guns." Because black people are like, "What guns? I don't have any guns."
Right.
What are you talking about? I don't know anyone who's got any guns.
Yeah.
If you say I have a gun, I'll fucking shoot you. All right? So stop saying I got guns.
It's a good point because people bring up legalizing pot, but you never hear guys saying we should legalize coke. I've been doing coke for a lot of years. They keep it quiet.
Yeah, they keep it quiet.
Their fucking business.
It's like, if you don't want us to take your guns, stop having pictures of you and your fucking redneck wife on Twitter holding guns. Because that blows your whole, I keep them for protection. No, you fucking love them. And there's nothing wrong with loving something. Just be honest and say, I just really fucking dig guns. Fuck off.
Right.
Because that's the only real argument I can see. The protection thing's bullshit, because if you keep them locked up in a safe, they're no protection. Someone's going to come over to your house and you're going to be like, "Wait there, fuckface." And then you're 40, 52.
All right, this is weird. Anthony's texting me right now.
I always think that's how Oscar Pistorius, there would have been just... Because the thing is, they found out with Oscar Pistorius that, what was the thing they found? Okay, that she had a text message on Valentine's Day from a rugby player in South Africa. I don't know if you know this about South Africa, but in South Africa, rugby is a more popular sport than legless running.
Is that right?
It is.
So there was someone above him.
It really is. And so it's 3 years before the Olympics, and you just know how it went down, right? She was just like, goes, "What the fuck is in my phone?" You know that evil voice they have. It's like my accent, but picture my accent, but I'm being mean to black people.
Right. Okay.
And so it's like, "What the fuck is this text? What is this all about? What are you doing?" Like that. Right? And then she's like, "Fuck you, don't go through my phone. Who the hell do you think you are?" Right? And he's like, "You're a fucking bitch. I can get any woman I can." She goes, "No, you can't, you legless bastard. You're only half a man. I want the real man." And then he's like, "You fucking bitch." He goes to the bathroom and he just drags himself along the floor. And then he gets to the safe and he's like, 32, 40, fucking bitch, 55, 70. And then he opens it up. That's not his gun. He keeps his legs there, right? And he puts then he puts on, he doesn't go for normal legs because he wants to fuck her up. So he puts the blades on, right? And then he's blading around the house looking for his gun. Now this is the weird thing, right? So he shoots it through the bathroom door, and his defense is that he thought someone was burgling him. There was someone who was robbing him, but the bathroom door was locked. So that story goes out the window because no fucker breaks into a house and goes, lock the door. We're just here for toiletries. We don't want everything. It's probably like another legless guy, and he's like, "I hear he has the best stump cream." I hear that his stump cream is so above and beyond anyone else's stump cream that I'm going to take his stump cream. And then he just shot that girl, and she's like the hottest chick in the world, man. Yeah. She was so fucking hot. And I don't know about you, but like, even with bullet wounds, like I wouldn't say I'd fuck her now. I'm saying like an hour afterwards, you'd be like, I'll fuck that one more time.
You would.
I'll bring along 6 friends and we'll fill every hole.
I love the fact that
and guns are
still
bad.
doing material for disabled people after all this time.
And my point is, don't have guns.
Oh, there you go. Jim Jefferies, everybody. Jim Jefferies.
Thank you.
Peter, thank you so much, my friend. That was so good.